Well, hello everyone, and good afternoon to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about TikTok, and I know a lot of you in the audience are really anxious to learn more about what is TikTok selling and how you can get started. We've got some folks trickling in. We'll just give them another 30 seconds or so to get joined in, and then we'll kick things off here. Just wait 30 seconds, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Something I like to do at the beginning of our webinars, just because we're usually in the midday portion of the day. Let us know what you had for lunch or are planning to eat for lunch if you haven't yet, and where you're at in the world. It's always good to see where you guys are from.
Well, I haven't had my lunch yet, so I'm
Me neither.
excited to talk about what we're social selling and multi-channel selling, and we'll get into the lunch session here. Yeah, lots of folks. I'm based here in San Diego, and Oliver, whereabouts are you?
Typically based in San Francisco, but dialing in from Seattle today.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, we'll just wait another 10 seconds before we dive right in. Looks like we've got some folks from South Africa, from Connecticut. Yeah, everybody's rolling in, and yes, maybe it goes. Oh, happy birthday to Katie in
Ooh.
Dallas, Texas. Um, it goes without saying we are going to be recording this session so that everyone that is tuning in afterwards can take a look. But with that, let's just dive right in. Today, we're talking about whether you should start a TikTok shop. And with me is Oliver. I'll first introduce myself for those of you that are already WebGility customers. Hello, hi. You probably heard of me before. I'm Parag Mamnani, the founder and CEO. And for those that of you that are new, been doing e-commerce now for a little over 2 decades. So excited to see all the new trends, and the most prevalent one that's everybody, and I think it's top of mind, is really TikTok and all the phenomenal growth it's had. And I'm excited to learn more about it and share details about it with you. Joining me is Oliver. Oliver, you want to give us a quick intro?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Oliver Silzer. I've been at TikTok for almost 4 years in total, working on the ad side of the business, starting in early 2020, and now fully focused on the commerce side of the business. I lead business development for partnerships and integrations, which you can find within the TikTok Shop App Store in Seller Center once you've registered. So excited to give everybody some background on what TikTok Shop is today, and why it's such a great opportunity, and then some, ideas on how to get started and make sure that it's a success.
Awesome. Yes, we've got lots of questions, and for just for general housekeeping, we do have a question panel in the webinar here. So please continue to post your questions as you have them. We'll do our best to answer them at the end with the Q&A, and we also have John is helping us kind of moderate. So if he thinks that there's a burning question that's relevant, we'll be happy to kind of take a pause. But we got quite a few folks attending today, so going to try to keep the pace going. We've got a bunch of slides, lots of different cool stuff to cover around TikTok. So, what's our agenda? First and foremost, we're going to really cover the basics of what's TikTok. I think everybody on the call probably is a user, but you might not know as well about how to actually sell on TikTok as a sales channel for your retail business. And so we'll dive into some of those details today. We're also going to cover broadly just social commerce and selling, and really kind of taking that leap from running your e-commerce business and your operations with the various channels you're probably already selling on to now looking at social, not just as an advertising medium, but really as a channel from where you can get new sales. And how do you get right in front of your customers as they're on that channel? We'll also be talking a little bit about multi-channel selling, just really what the impact is on your business as you add more and more channels for your operations. What does it mean for your team? What does it mean for your growth? And last but not least, we'll try to learn some tips and tricks from Oliver here on what are some of the best practices around selling on TikTok. and also, give us kind of a walkthrough on some of the operational tools and capabilities that you have, as Oliver mentioned, within the TikTok seller portal. So without further ado, we'll dive right into TikTok and really cover the basics. And I'll hand over the mic here to Oliver, and he'll be able to tell us more. Tell us more about TikTok Shop here, Oliver.
Awesome. Thank you. So for those of you on the call, I assume most of you are familiar with TikTok as a concept and an app today, as a short form video platform. Really sort of having grown up over the last 5 or so years to become, a household name and one of the most popular destinations on mobile that there is. But what we really want to focus today is on TikTok Shop. So TikTok Shop is a fully embedded marketplace and commerce-oriented experience directly within the TikTok app. So as you're going through your very native TikTok experience, looking at videos, watching live streams, engaging with new brands and content, you actually have the ability to do the full purchase and checkout experience, from learning more about that product, ordering it, and within a few clicks, you can have a brand new or interesting product that you've discovered on the platform on its way to your door.
And so, Oliver, just a quick comment here. So the key distinction is that TikTok Shop isn't a advertising interface. It's actually a full feature checkout experience. So your buyers are essentially able to purchase as they're browsing. Obviously, most of our folks in the audience are really the merchants and the sellers. So as you think about that experience, I'm assuming there's a Seller Central kind of portal behind the scenes as well. So all the order management also happens natively in TikTok as well, correct?
Yes, fully correct. So we have our own Seller Center interface. We also have a variety of third-party integrations and apps that can power that on the back end as well, where you can do all of your operational management. Then for the user, actually engaging with TikTok and seeing that experience live, they can directly purchase within the TikTok app, not being routed to a different website, not necessarily doing advertising, although we do have a variety of shopping based advertising solutions, but really being able to operate sort of as a more traditional marketplace, as you will, with us being the platform on which the purchase is taking place.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have a few users.
Yeah, a couple here and there. A modest 170, I believe, is the 170 million is the most recent US based number.
Just a few.
And I think a lot of the metrics here actually transition well to that point where, TikTok Shop is really providing a huge opportunity to grow sales, drive revenue, engage with new customers, and actually drive that conversion. We have, 1 billion monthly global users. So that's a, massive base. I will preface this all by saying TikTok Shop is only available in certain markets right now. We're working on expanding to new markets, and I think that'll be a big focus as we continue to grow, with the US, the UK, and a handful of Southeast Asian markets being where TikTok Shop is currently available. But there have been over 61 billion hashtag TikTok made me buy it views, clearly showing that there is an interest and a proclivity to buy on the platform even before we launched TikTok Shop. Yeah, there's a lot of discovery. And as you can tell, 83% say that TikTok impacts their product decisions, whether that's learning more about a product, discovering it for the first time, hearing validation from a brand, a creator talking about a product that they want to learn more about. So there has always been this groundswell of purchase activity and interest in buying products, but TikTok Shop is taking that to a new level.
Awesome. Yeah, there's already some questions coming in with regards to setup and things, but I'll hold on getting to those questions here in a second. But you also talked a little bit about all the native capabilities. Talk to us about what are some of the different ways that users can engage with TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a variety of different places in which TikTok Shop experience surfaces. And I think that's what makes it such a unique platform. Unlike other channels where people might go to do sort of their normal browsing, but then end up in a different interface or different experience to purchase, or alternatively more on the marketplace side, usually coming in with a direct intention to find a specific product. Those two things sort of blend seamlessly and natively together, so that as casual, more passive engagement is taking place, that can also drive down funnel conversions. And so this can be done in a variety of ways. There's the product link. So tagging a product in a video, whether that's an advertisement, a brand themselves or a seller themselves, putting together content, or if it's working with creators, which I'll get into more later as affiliates to drive adoption and awareness of those products. There's live shopping experiences, so streaming and going live, but being able to purchase products directly from those live experiences and engage with the creator or brand or whoever is promoting the product to learn more about it. We have a shop tab, which is directly within the app next to the For You page, a little more of a traditional marketplace, I'd say, experience where you can filter by specific product categories or search for specific products. There's a product showcase, which is essentially a brand's or a seller's own interface where, within their TikTok shop or TikTok page, you can see all of their products specifically laid out. And all that sort of leads you down the funnel to where you're able to see a product detail page where you can make specific selections for different specific products if that's available, or just learn more about the product in general. And then ultimately driving that seamless conversion where within a few clicks, you've gone from discovering the product to actually checking out and purchasing that product.
That's fantastic. Are these different ways kind of choices that a merchant has to pick up on, or as a native TikTok seller, all of these opportunities become available to everyone?
Yeah, so all of these are available to be for exposure to users and for adoption of sellers. Different sellers might employ different strategies. We broadly recommend a wide adoption of all of them to reach your audience in a multitude of ways, but also to make sure that you're connecting with different types of users at different times. We've seen a lot of different value props between these different products, but as you can kind of see from these images here, it all looks and feels extremely native to TikTok, whether that's, finding a showcase when you're looking at a profile page already, or if it's scrolling one tab over to the left and all of a sudden you're in shop tab from the For You page, or if it's just as you're normally scrolling through the environment, now some of the videos that you're seeing and engaging with have these product links embedded in them, whether it's from the brand or creator or whoever, or easily scrolling into a live, right? So all of these experiences are designed not to be some jarring departure for a user or for a seller in terms of how their behavior on TikTok already exists, but rather an extension and an evolution of it.
Yeah, and I guess again, as I look at just these different interfaces, obviously merchants are comfortable with their own sales channels and also advertising on social channels. But you also have to kind of get deliberate about what's the design going to look like, what your messaging is going to feel like as you interface, especially. And I know you guys have had one of your most successful live shopping launches. I read that in the news, but I think you hit $1 million on one of them.
Yeah, we've had a few sellers recently have some really successful live activations, which has been wonderful to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, we're going to touch a little bit on what are the operational impacts for our merchants on how they leverage these different tools. But clearly, lots of different opportunities available to employ. But yeah, you kind of have to know all the things that are in your tool belt. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the potential here and maybe some of the kind of steps that you've outlined here in the slide.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the awesome elements of TikTok is that selling the product is a lot more streamlined and a lot more native as an experience. So being able to leverage our existing products and solutions to sell those products. And I think that's done in a couple of ways. There's live shopping. As we mentioned, there's been some really successful live shopping events that have taken place recently, and it's a new and exciting way, mainly in the US. It's sort of a new, relatively new format comparatively, but it's had a ton of success in other markets. So this is a way to directly connect and engage in real time with people, help encourage the adoption or the purchase of those products. We have campaigns and promotions, so a variety of tools such as flash sales or coupons or shipping that can be used to sort of entice buyers as well across these different placements. There's creator collaboration. Again, in the back half of this webinar, I'll talk a lot about affiliate because I think that's a really exciting opportunity. And then lastly, I'd talk about sort of analytics and performance, where you're able to look at dashboards to better understand what type of content is performing, what sort of action or behavior is that driving, whether it's an add to cart or a view of your page or a purchase itself, and really begin to leverage these tools to make sure that you're creating this new experience, which again is sort of blending the historical version of online shopping, but also introducing this new creative oriented and more natural social components to that purchasing experience.
Yeah, and again, in terms of kind of operational needs and the skill sets required, it sounds like sellers do need to get familiar with the different experiences. I don't think live shopping is something that's, commonly understood in the seller
Sure.
community. But certainly campaigns and promotions, working with creators is another kind of new area that I think merchants will have to kind of learn to kind of build that muscle. But certainly, even in terms of performance analytics, there's clearly dashboards that most sellers are used to. So there's a little bit of, I guess, the old, like really replicating what success might have looked like in other channels, but there does seem to be clearly like some new skills and capabilities that you have to kind of learn to become, a seller on the platform. But it does sounds like you've got a lot of traction already, and merchants are seeing some real value there.
Yeah, absolutely. The growth has been, amazing to watch. I think TikTok comes from a really interesting place because we have, over 7 million small businesses that are already using the app and tapping into that experience, and 170 million US users that are engaging with the app for entertainment, to learn new things, to find, communities and other niche audiences. So while we understand that there is sort of an evolution of marketing and commerce behavior that is required or encouraged to find success on TikTok, I think that we already have a really robust foundation with enthusiastic and engaged users and a huge user base, businesses that are already testing and learning and finding their own unique and innovative ways to connect with those communities, and a desire for those two to connect. And that's already taking place, as we've seen with, hashtag TikTok made me buy it, with the success we've had from an organic engagement and an ads perspective, with the amount that from our research that we're seeing that from users, that they find new products, that they engage with brands, that they learn more about products, that they're more likely to purchase. So I think TikTok Shop is really just the evolution of the amazing foundation that we've built, and taking it to the next level, which will of course add more utility to not only the users who get to take advantage of this experience, but to the businesses and the merchants that are continuing to scale and accelerate their operations via TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, listen, clearly tremendous amount of opportunity, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. Clearly, while there is opportunity, there's obviously this big kind of looming question about what does the TikTok ban mean for selling it? What is it? When should sellers really start to sort of think about getting involved? Is there going to be some impact on if they get started now? What are the implications? What's the and I know this is probably a sensitive topic, so I'll let you kind of answer it the way that you feel best. But we want to make sure we educate our customers and sellers on really understanding what's the risk here, and is it going to impact the way that they'll be able to run their business on TikTok going forward?
Yeah, sure. It is a fair question. And, while I don't want to dive into too many of the specifics, as I'll let that all play out in sort of the legal and business realm that exists, I think the key thing to call out here is that the growth and the adoption is happening. It's taking place here. It's taking place now. And that opportunity is ripe to take advantage of. We have developed a variety of ways in which to hopefully make the experience of sellers onboarding easier, whether that's via first-party solution or third-party integrations, running and managing, connecting to various, other e-commerce platforms like Shopify, for example. So we've worked and will continue to work to make that experience as translatable from other places to TikTok as possible. And while the powers that be will have everything play out, I think as a business, we're confident in our ability to remain engaging and, continuing to build upon the awesome environment and ecosystem we've built for both businesses and users. And, through Shop, we really think we can accelerate sort of the value and the collaboration of the community that TikTok Shop and TikTok as a whole have become.
Yeah, no, thank you for answering. And, I'll kind of give my 2 cents here as well as I think about what's the best option for our customers. What we've seen from the legal process is that, there's a clear mandate around, privacy. There's some concerns and so forth around ownership structure. But at the end of the day, I think what the ask is that the corporate structure behind the scenes might be changing for TikTok, whether it be, some sort of a US entity acquiring the business, et cetera. But in terms of its real end value, I don't see here a path where, there's a full ban or that we don't actually, are not able to sell on the platform per se. So there's a lot kind of churn and things going on behind the scenes, but we feel really good about TikTok as a marketplace and as a real opportunity that just has such tremendous potential, and just the audience is there. So as a enterprising sort of business owner, I think you really want to capitalize on the opportunity and certainly keep a close eye on what the implications on the legal aspect might be. But before I kind of really jump off the topic, one of the questions actually that's been asked, Oliver, in the question panel was around the kind of store setup process. And I can actually tell you from firsthand experience, setting up a TikTok shop ourselves as we were testing it out. There does seem to be a sort of a complex process here with regards to both documentation, uploading certain kind of passport requirements, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about, what that process looks like? I know we're going to be jumping into some of the operational elements here, but since we're on the topic, is it a long process, short process? Is there good support there? How should merchants be kind of thinking about that setup experience?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think, there are different parties that have ultimately had different experiences. I understand that there is some asks and requirements, and there can be hiccups along the way. And that's something we as a business are continuing to work on improving. When we talk about TikTok Shop, because TikTok's such like a regular household name, it usually rings true that, okay, huge platform, they should have sort of everythting up and running. And while we really do from an operational standpoint, TikTok Shop itself is less than
You
a
guys
year
are
old.
5 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a little bit longer than that, but really sort of accelerating in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it is fascinating to your point how we kind of forget that, establishing an entire commerce operations is no small feat, even though you've got kind of an amazing business on the consumer side. So definitely some growing pains, I imagine.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, TikTok Shop itself launched in GA in, I believe, September of last year. So less than a year being, fully publicly live in the US. But these are all areas where we continue to improve. Part of the reason, for asking for certain information is really to make sure that the sellers that we're bringing onto the platform are legitimate. It's, a top concern and focus of our business to make sure that the commerce experience that users are having, is one that is quality and is one that is, operating the right way. And so that's where some of those requirements come in. And really, while I know there are hiccups along the way that people have struggled with, we continue to work with as many sellers as we can and work with partners that we've integrated with in the space to make sure that we're supporting their merchants and helping them onboard. So if you do run into challenges, I'd recommend, filing an appeal and trying to figure that out. I wish I could say there was one specific repository or way that I could, address those sort of things behind the
What, they
scenes.
can't call you, Oliver?
So yeah, let's hide my number. But to those who have faced challenges, heard loud and clear on why that's frustrating. But hopefully that's something we can work to improve. And to those who haven't sort of given it the go yet, while there may be asked for certain sort of information or validation up front, a lot of that is rooted in the fact that we want to make sure that we have legitimate and quality sellers that are engaging with our users on our platform.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important reminder. I mean, the TikTok Shop interface just launched, as you mentioned, in September, so we're not even a year into it. So, for all of the tools and resources that are today available across various channels, including, a Shopify, a BigCommerce, Amazon, and so forth. I mean, those are very mature and, established scaled businesses, and certainly I'm confident TikTok obviously gets there, but certainly early and some maybe growing pains, especially with more webinars like these. You're gonna have a rush of sellers getting excited to join and get going. So as we we'll dive into some more of the operations. There's already kind of a stream of questions coming in that we'll get to, but in the interest of time, I'm going to kind of move us along a little bit and start cover some aspects of just broadly social selling. I wanted to ask, I mean, obviously you've got an opinion around TikTok as a social and a selling platform. Um, but talk to us about, why do you feel it's different? Maybe also talk about, what kind of skills do you think that people need to really be successful selling on TikTok?
I think overall I would encourage sellers and businesses to take a TikTok first approach. And hopefully that's not uprooting anything or causing real trouble, but it is about how you connect with your audience here. At this stage in the game, and while we'll continue to evolve as a platform, you're not actively bidding on keywords in a cost per click type model or something like that. It is really much more of a native experience. So I think what really makes TikTok Shop different and why this needs to be sort of thought about and tackled differently is the way in which you're engaging with consumers. And we understand that for a lot of businesses, that might be different than what they're used to, but that is why we are constantly trying to develop not only first-party tools, but also third-party partnerships, guides, best practices, et cetera, to make that that transition a bit more easy. And actually, ultimately, hopefully benefiting the company themselves and the users themselves, rather than, while it might take a little adjustment, ultimately we believe and have seen from a data perspective that that's ultimately what's gonna drive the better and more successful TikTok Shop experience.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I think that's the good and the bad, right? Like the great aspect is that since this is such a new channel, it's so ripe for innovation and the way that users engage with the content. That's the uniqueness of it. That's why it draws a certain type of buyer to the platform and it's got the traction. But the same token, as the seller on the other side, you've got to really understand how the platform works and really understand how you bring visibility and differentiation to your products. Speaking of skills, then I imagine, is maybe the number one skill here creativity? It's really a creator's platform. Is it about kind of arming yourselves with folks that are much more multimedia oriented? Or can you talk a little bit about, what kind of skills do you think you really need to succeed?
Yeah, the biggest skill I'd sort of harp on is openness, right? And a willingness to try something new. So I think that, we have seen as TikTok has grown, just TikTok as a whole, is that, even when the platform was really starting to build our user base and really become sort of part of the social zeitgeist in, say, 2020-ish, a lot of that was rooted in the companies and individuals that were willing to, engage with TikTok and the way that the community has really flourished. And so that's something I always work to impress upon prospective businesses coming onto TikTok, is participating on TikTok for what it is and how it is, because that's what's really going to help it stick, not trying to necessarily take the exact same approach you might do in another channel, but really leaning into whether it's the sounds, the video types, the jokes, the commenting, engaging in the platform and with the users as they are, to help solidify and strengthen that sort of bond and collaboration. So that's really what I'd encourage. From a skill perspective, a lot of what we've tried to do is develop the tooling so that, if you are, say, a small business and you want to sell on TikTok Shop, but maybe you don't have a full marketing team or a creator outreach program, there are solutions such as our affiliate marketplace to quickly say, hey, creators, let's collaborate in a more streamlined and simplistic way in order to help them create content and promote your products on your behalf, but also monetize from that strategy. So again, I think that's covered somewhat later in the presentation, but I think overall at its heart, it's, a willingness to do TikTok and to participate on TikTok. And that's what's ultimately going to help drive the best outcomes and experience.
And do you have a suggestion or recommendation on when's the right time? Maybe, the sales pitch is all the time, but
Sure.
there must be sort of an ideal, timing. Is it for more established merchants? Is it for merchants that sort of maybe are online only merchants that understand sort of social selling better? What are there some recommendations there on when is the right time?
I'd love to say there is a right time or a right profile and be a bit more targeted with it, but unsurprising, it's all the time. We, again, sort of the platform that we've built has welcomed and found success for all different types of businesses. And so, I will acknowledge if you're trying to maybe sell a car or, products that aren't more direct or for a consumer to purchase, that might be, not a perfect fit. But for any business that's selling products directly to people for the most part, Shop, I think, is a really great opportunity. And while we look at right time, I think you could look and say, okay, well, holiday season, you want to be on there, something like that. I think a lot of it depends on the product that you're selling, one. Two, is also sort of getting, you want to get on the platform so you can learn and engage, right?
Sure.
And then three, I'd also call out, with the exposure of these products to different people in different places, the way that discovery sort of naturally happens, there's not necessarily a moment that you have to hit, right? That's kind of the beauty of the platform. It's not, hey, if you're an inflatable pool company, okay, maybe there's a very specific time where you're really starting to market that, right? But I think what makes TikTok so exciting is that there's always people coming up with new ideas, talking about new products, driving excitement. Those products can be resurfaced at different times. Those videos I could see it the day it's posted, you could see it a month later. And so it's about sort of getting involved in a way that sort of allows you to sort of maximize your engagement on the platform and maximize your collaboration with the community at large.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into, what we wanted to talk about a little bit more is that, and I have this question from Jonathan as well in the question panel is, how should we think about the TikTok Shop experience? Obviously, there's opportunities to leverage it as an advertising platform so that you can direct people back to maybe a shopping experience or another, channel that you already have established. Versus using TikTok as a native platform. In fact, the question is, can we link our company website to the TikTok Shop so that it works hand in hand? How do you kind of think about TikTok as a advertising platform versus, TikTok Shop?
Yeah, great question. So I think what makes TikTok Shop so valuable is the fact that it's on TikTok. So you're not redirected to another site. You don't need to pull out your credit card every time. You don't need to have this sort of fragmented user experience, but that it's one native experience directly within TikTok. That said, if you think about advertising versus selling, there's going to be different channels or different use cases that exist, right? Maybe you launch a new product and you just want to drive awareness of it. Maybe it's sort of a higher level marketing effort versus more down funnel where maybe you want to make that path to conversion as direct as possible. So I think it depends on sort of what strategies you're trying to use and what's most important for your business objectives in how you sort of decide. But at the end of the day, both can and should sort of coexist, right? It's about keeping your brand engaged on the platform, platform, keeping it top of mind for buyers, but also making sure that that path to purchase anytime they get that inspiration is available. They have that seamless path to conversion because you are set up and active on TikTok. So I think that's kind
So
of
there's no limitation then, really, right? You can obviously continue to advertise your
Yeah.
brand and your own website through the channel, but really,
Sure.
if you want the best conversion experience, you want to try to bring it into the TikTok shop interface.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's sort of where we'll continue to find and demonstrate success is by blending the two, right? How are you having shoppable content, but then maximizing the visibility of that content with advertising in a way that sort of brings the biggest impact of both of those together. But ultimately, with TikTok sort of as embedded into the social fabric as it's become, I think taking advantage of advertising as appropriate, but always sort of having your products available there for when the opportunity strikes is really critical.
Yeah, and you mentioned about kind of getting started and obviously trying out some experiments. Do you have some thoughts maybe or some best practices? Obviously there's not one size fits all here, but do you feel like there's an easy way that merchants can really start testing and maybe allocate some budget? Any thoughts around kind of how do you kind of get off the ground running to really get a feel for what the platform is able to do for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, getting started is always the sort of big first step. Once you get your shop set up, I think getting a few products in and up, maybe you have a very large catalog or a very complex catalog that you're not quite ready to unload all of that into TikTok, but rather what are the products that might resonate best with your audience? What are the products maybe you have that are gaining the most traction or have the right use case at the right time? If you sell, 100 different products, there might be different times to lean more aggressively into the promotion or the awareness of one product versus another, right? So I think it's about getting on the platform. And then to what I was addressing earlier with sort of the various ways you can leverage the channel is trying those different things, trying a live, using our affiliate marketplace to get creators to talk about and engage with your product, posting your own content and your own videos themselves, manipulating different strategies, whether it's how your product's described or what the header is or those sort of things. So I think there's a lot of different levers that you can pull. And the nice thing about, TikTok, at least, if you're advertising, that's different. But, selling on TikTok, you're really only finding yourself with a cost associated with that when something sells, right? Whether that's the marketplace fee itself, or if it's using creators as affiliate, you can structure your affiliate campaign. So it's, hey, creator, I'll give you 10% of every sale. Rather than, hey, I'm going to pay you $500 up front. We'll see what happens, right? So I think part of the greatness of TikTok Shop is that you can have a very performance oriented strategy where, your success on the platform or also the cost that you're investing, while of course there's upfront and, other costs to address, are really sort of driven by how much you're scaling and how much, you're benefiting
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. I'm getting a bunch of questions that are very interconnected. And I know you brought up affiliate selling here. So I think that's a really key aspect we should dive into. I know we have a bunch of slides on that. So I'll pause for a second here and we can talk about affiliate selling. But I do want to ask, I have several questions around sports equipment, the question around, what industries would be the best fit, what certain categories are the right match. Excuse me. Do you have some recommendations or is there like a list of like recommended categories that do well? Maybe some stats around those categories or maybe an offline link that you can share with the audience?
Mhm. Yeah. So generally speaking, from a category perspective, we're broad in the categories that we welcome and are continuing to expand that, of course, to make sure that we're, understanding the different categories, the nuances around them, the legal compliance and tax related, needs, because we want to make sure that we're doing each sort of category justice. In terms of different categories, what I would say is that while all products have a fit, typically if you're sending it's a product that you can make a slightly more spontaneous decision around, or get some exposure to make that decision to buy. So, we've seen a lot of success in areas like skincare and beauty, consumables and supplements, fashion and apparel, right? Electronics, accessories, and home goods. So these are all areas that we're continuing to see growth, as well as diversifying into new categories as well. And what, of course, I'll say for anyone who's used TikTok, you know how fast you can find yourself in a very specific community that's super enthusiastic about something, or getting exposed to a new product or some video you'd never expected to see before. All of a sudden sort of levels up in popularity, goes viral, and now you're exposed to it. So that's another reason why it's hard to sort of pinpoint exactly what. If you could pinpoint exactly what would capture the culture of TikTok, you know, you'd have your business figured out. And I think that's also what makes it sort of exciting and opportunistic for different types of businesses, is the fact that you never really know exactly what's going to pop when. But generally speaking, those are some categories that we've seen success with.
Is
I'll
it,
also drop in the chat
sorry.
real quick here a link to our Seller Academy. So this is a really great resource to find a bunch of information about different
Fantastic, yeah.
areas of success, guides, policies, how it all operates. So for anyone interested in joining TikTok Shop and making sure that they're sort of setting themselves up for success, I'd really recommend this as a great resource to learn more and get your foundation set.
That's really helpful. If I may, is it fair to kind of just refer to this in the sense of sort of time to think, time to purchase, right? The products that are maybe well understood and are brand names, or you trust an influencer and you kind of make a decision quickly, are probably the categories that will achieve a lot of success. Or products maybe that you don't have to spend a ton of time kind of reading, digging through, and researching, are also probably categories that'll appeal to a buyer more instantly and should get more traction. Is kind of time to purchase a good way to kind of think about the right category that'll be successful?
Yeah, in part, you know, I think a lot of people are going there to discover products rather than, you know, necessarily saying, I've done all of my research, to your point, and this is, you know, specifically the thing I want to buy. You know, that said, I think part of the great experience of TikTok is hearing from different people about it and gaining that exposure. So just because I might not be coming in ready to purchase, you know, this brand of shoes, as I start to see that more on TikTok Shop and see people talk about it and look at the products itself and read reviews about it, there is also sort of the opportunity to move through that full educational funnel to get yourself to a point of purchase. So, you know, I'd really, while I definitely agree that sort of a faster path to purchase in terms of sort of like behavioral conversion is definitely, it's always helpful, right? I think there is also a lot of a culture of discoverability and education on the platform, which also makes it a good place for somebody to say, hey, I've seen that product a few times, a few creators I trust are talking about it, it's getting, you know, great reviews. Then they're actually moving through. So when it's time to make that decision, it's not, okay, now I have to go find it elsewhere. There it is for them to quickly make that conversion. Maybe I added it to cart, but I wasn't sure if I wanted. Then I see, you know, some more content around it. All of a sudden, I'm feeling a lot more confident in that product. So I wouldn't want that to dissuade anyone.
Certainly, yeah. So it's a full funnel process. It's really how you leverage the channel to the best of your business's abilities. I know we had a lot of details here we were going to talk about, but I think you've sort of answered a lot of questions around getting set up for success. The setup and launch process for everyone on the chat. Just go through the academy. It has a ton of great information around the policies. What does registration and onboarding look like? What are the different ways to sell? And so we'll kind of jump past that, but talk to us a little bit about, you know, managing the operations. So I've got a question here as well around, can we drop ship on TikTok Shop? I think it's broadly a question of like, what happens post-purchase, right? How are you managing the orders? How are you managing fulfillment? How should merchants kind of think about the TikTok kind of post-purchase and operational aspects?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So there is a variety of ways in which sellers can ultimately manage their TikTok shop. They can manage it directly within TikTok Seller Center. So we have, you know, a full platform that allows you to do everything from managing your product catalogs to seeing orders, even things like printing labels directly from the TikTok Shop Seller Center experience. So all that's available to you in sort of a native capacity from both sort of onboarding, but also post-purchase activities. All that is available to you there. Additionally, we have built out a really robust app ecosystem that we're continuing to scale to make sure that regardless of how a seller wants to operate, that they can do so within TikTok Shop. So making that process as streamlined and as seamless for multi-channel as possible. And so within our app ecosystem, you'll find a variety of different partner types, whether that's, integrations with some of the major platforms, like say a Shopify, whether it's using catalog management tools to list your products and update information about it, whether it's third-party solutions for fulfillment, be it sort of order management, shipping, print on demand, drop shipping, all those sort of things. All of that is integrated. And where we're really starting to go from an operational standpoint, sort of later into this year and beyond, is also once you're on the platform, what are some of the other things you want to take advantage of, whether it's reviews, ratings, promotions, affiliate marketing, live shopping, content development, analytics, right? There's all, tax and finance. There's all these new categories that we're continuing to explore and make sure that, whatever sort of solution that a seller needs to make sure that their e-commerce business on TikTok Shop is as flourishing as possible, we are looking to say, who are the companies in that space who are supporting those sellers, who are innovating, who can provide a solution to someone looking for one, to ultimately drive that efficiency and that success. I think you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So there is a core app store. And for those of you that are wondering, how does this work with WebGility? So there's a little bit of a shortcut today. We are actually a little ahead of the curve right now, just looking at TikTok's opportunity. Our team is actually actively developing our direct integration into TikTok. So look for that in later part of the year. But for everyone that's kind of looking to get started sooner, one of the best ways to go about doing it is leveraging the TikTok for Shopify app. So what it does is as you're seeing on your screen, is you can seamlessly connect to TikTok, bring in all of your orders into your Shopify interface. And as a virtue of that, WebGility will be able to process all of those transactions and bring them into QuickBooks and do all of your syncing for you as well. Excuse me. There's also a question around WooCommerce. Do you have an active integration, do you know, Oliver, with Woo as well?
Yeah, so we do have an integration with Woo. We also have, I can also drop the link to the public facing page of our app ecosystem that's constantly updating and evolving. But we also have a variety of third-party connectors that are bridging that gap. So for even platforms where we might not have a fully embedded one-to-one solution, we also have third parties that have built their own unique value to bridge those gap between, say, us and Salesforce or something like that. So there are first-party solutions. There are also third-party solutions that should cover the bulk of what you need. But, of course, we're always looking to expand into new partnerships and new use cases.
That's right. So for all those of you that are really looking to get started now and you're thinking about how are you going to integrate, there are already ways to bring in your TikTok orders into your BigCommerce, your Shopify and so forth interfaces, and that'll help WebGility interface with that as well. And later in the year, we're going to be supporting a full native integration into TikTok. It's in development. I can't give you the launch date just yet, but it'll be available soon. So look for that. I want to talk a little bit more, just also in the interest of time, we're almost out of time in the next 5-10 minutes here. Talk to us a little bit about the affiliate program. This is very unique, I believe, to TikTok and the way that merchants can really leverage it. So what's the affiliate program and how does it really benefit merchants?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone who knows TikTok knows that creators are the heart of what TikTok is. They are the engine that keeps the sort of culture and the engagement and the excitement on TikTok running, whether that's to be funny, to be aspirational, to be educational, so on and so forth. So that's where, a lot of the sort of excitement on the platform is, and that ties directly into TikTok Shop. So as sort of the heart of our community, we know that people trust the creators that they engage with. People want to hear from the creators themselves. People want to engage with the creators in a way, and brands can be taking advantage of that too, to collaborate with those creators and find the best path forward. So What the affiliate solution is really designed to do is create a marketplace in which creators and brands, especially those selling on TikTok Shop, can more directly connect to find that opportunity for collaboration and inherently benefit each other. The creators get an opportunity to talk about a new product and to monetize. The brands themselves get access to their sort of marketing value, and their value that they've resonated with their community. And, you know, while a portion of that sale, depending on sort of the affiliate plan that you set up and invite creators to, will be going to that creator. You also are only paying for actual conversion and sort of a performance oriented model, which of course ultimately is helpful for your bottom line as well, without significant upfront creative costs. And really, if you're a brand or a seller that, you know, might not have the biggest marketing muscle in the world, this is a really strong way for you to leverage the community of experts that are on this platform in a way that also helps drive your business. So there's a variety of methodologies that you can use within the affiliate experience, and this is all within Seller Center. There's an affiliate section of Affiliate Center of Seller Center, where you can engage with those affiliates and set up these plans. We're also working on launching and developing third-party solutions within our app store for affiliate operations as well. But there's a few main ways that you can do this. You can either do an open plan, which is basically just saying, hey, here are the products that I want sellers to be able to access. Creators can then go tag the products within their video and then ultimately drive those sales. TikTok, as the, you know, platform where the payment takes place, can also handle the segmentation of how that money gets split up. There's also targeted plans where you can specifically target individual creators who might resonate best with your brands, or that you've worked with in the past, or that you trust to provide the specific messaging that you need. And so there's a variety of ways, even the shop plan, which is just like, hey, anyone can promote anything, you know, and there'll be a sort of a universal commission for those products. So there's different ways in which you can collaborate with the creators directly to sort of be that vessel for your messaging and for your marketing in a way that, you know, I think has a lot of utility to all sides.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really also a unique way for, I think, businesses to start to think about TikTok. Obviously, there's the setup process, there's the way that you use it in terms of the media needs and how you think about social selling. But clearly, even as a merchant, you have to understand that it's a multi-sided marketplace where you can also engage with these affiliates that can really help propel your brand and visibility for your products. So as simple as I think, Oliver, you and I might make it sound to be, there's really a real strategic component here where you have to spend some quality time in building out a framework of your product catalog. What's really going to make sense? How do you test it? How do you understand the affiliate side? How do you leverage them to start to give you maybe some initial traction? But it's you know, it requires a little bit of education, learning it, and then the power, though, it seems, as this example you have, I think, of Wise, is that there's clearly a lot of opportunity when it's done right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's just really creators are really at the heart of TikTok, as I mentioned. And I think that's what makes the affiliate opportunity so strong. It's kind of the perfect combination of everything, right? It's the creators talking about products that they like. It's brands being able to work with creators to help them understand the value of those products and put them forward. For the users and the buyers, it gets them to connect with someone they trust. And so if there's one thing, me, even on a personal level, you know, TikTok hat off aside, that I would really recommend, it's leaning into the affiliate opportunity. Just because, again, it's you know, the creators are the experts of TikTok, and to be able to do that while also, you know, sort of managing a performance payment model based on the affiliate structure, I think is really beneficial and adds a lot of utility. And I think Wise has been a really great seller on TikTok Shop and a great partner of ours. And I think, you know, the data here, we have a handful of case studies, but without boring everyone, I thought we'd just pull up this one as a way of to be example of a company that got onto the platform and began trying different types of solutions to build awareness and really leaning into the TikTok style by you know, working with different types of creators. And I think, you know, that's driven not only sort of impressions and views and awareness of their products, but also actually driving performance. As you can see from these metrics here, you know, millions in GMV, over 100K from a single video, and really leveraging the different tools and features like affiliate to make this all possible. And then lastly, I just want to call out at the bottom, we do acknowledge that they also supercharged a lot of the content that they were developing, both for their channel and with creators, with paid advertising dollars that allow them to deliver almost a 10x ROAS. So I think it's these sort of narratives that show what coming onto the platform, leaning in, trying, being open and willing to learn, figuring out what strategies are best solutioning for your business, and then doubling down is a really great sort of path to what is possible on TikTok Shop and what could ultimately drive success for you.
You're also making me want to launch our integration faster, Oliver. But yeah,
that was kind of the goal. That was kind of my secret goal. Not only helping all these great sellers and brands get onto the platform, but also hopefully showcasing what's possible when we work with partners to not only try to do, we want to do as much as we can for sellers, but we know that our sellers trust partners, we trust partners, and so the best way for us to drive success for our business and for our sellers' businesses is to work with partners like yourselves to make that as strong and connective as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to jump into the Q&A section here real quick, but I think, John, we may have gone so fast and covered so much that you didn't get a chance to bring up the poll. We did want to ask the audience a couple of questions. Yeah, please go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm going to launch the poll here. There's a couple questions. Just want to get a gauge for how many of you are either currently in the process of starting a TikTok shop, already have one, planning on it, or have had any reservations and are kind of using this webinar as sort of the indicator for whether you should start one or not. So we'll give it a couple seconds.
Also helps us kind of really organize who we get back in touch with, and hopefully we've made an impact on your decision around moving forward with TikTok.
And we'll give it a couple more seconds, just give everybody a chance to answer the poll.
And for any of you that still have questions, I know we've got a stream of them. We've got maybe 2 minutes to get through a few of them. We'll try and do our best here. But yeah, please go ahead and fill out this poll. And John, you've got another one ahead?
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and end this first one just to share the results with everybody. 8% of you already have one, so it looks like this webinar was placed very well. 54% of you were planning for the near future, and then 38% of you had reservations. And I know that's kind of an indication of some of the questions you guys have asked, just really in the minutia of maybe some of the problems you've experienced in trying to set one up. So hopefully we can make sure all those questions are answered. But let me do the other poll here, and this one is just kind of understanding where you guys currently sell at. I know if you're a customer of WebGility's, we generally will know already what other channels you have connected. But it's good for us to understand what you're using TikTok in tandem with, especially with that call out that Parag made on the previous slide, where we integrate directly with Shopify currently, and TikTok integrates with Shopify already as well. So there is that possibility of connection already.
Yeah, please let us know we're already selling. And I know Sean is late to the party, but yeah, there'll be a recording. We'll make sure we get that shared out with everyone. If you wouldn't mind, please go ahead and fill out that poll and hit submit. In the meantime, Oliver, we have like all of 60 seconds here. One of the questions that came up here was around brand protection and trademark protection. So as a registered brand, are there rules, limitations around, how you can restrict the sales of products on the TikTok shop?
Yeah, so there are a variety of sort of checks and balances within our system done to protect that as much as possible. We are a huge platform, and so we try to be as proactive as we can, as well as implement things like needing brand authorization, for example, flagging things that might be infringing upon IP, all those sort of cases where we want to make sure that we're providing as much brand integrity as we can for all of the different brands on the platform. And that's something that we're sort of continuing to work on and evolve. So I can't speak to every specific nuanced use case independently, but I can say overall, there are checks and elements both sort of within the setup process that are designed to sniff this out, as well as sort of as brands are launching to make sure that, as much as guardrailed as possible is.
Awesome. I have a bunch of other questions. I'll try to kind of capture a few of them in one broader question, and that we'll make that the last one here. is there seems to be sort of some ranges around the commission fees around different categories. Where can sellers maybe learn more about what the exact fees are for their particular category, and any thoughts you could share around why there are ranges?
Yeah, so I would really point everyone to Seller Academy. That's sort of the best place and the resource I previously shared with the most information, specifically around everything from general strategy to more specific policies. If there is ranges that have sort of been shared, I imagine that depends on a multitude of variables, such as, it could be size, it could be, the stage you're on. We've done things like promotional discounts on fees when you're getting started. Like there's a lot of moving pieces. Again, even though we're only sort of less than a year live in the US, we're continuing to evolve our business in ways. And so I would really recommend bookmarking this and using this as sort of your core source of truth for a lot of your questions, reasonably so, around sort of one, not only what's the best way to approach TikTok Shop, but also, really sort of focused on how do we make this platform as successful as possible, and how do I make sure that I'm operationalizing my business as much as possible. So I would recommend spending some time there. And again, we also have our app store and TikTok Shop partner marketplace as a way of bringing in partners to help make you as successful and efficient as possible.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic, Oliver. I think we may have inundated our audience with just the fire of question and answers we covered here today. Lots of materials, and we're going to share this recording later on. I hope this gets you really excited about selling on TikTok. I know we're excited to partner with TikTok and provide all of the great capabilities Webgility does. Oliver, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
to
me.
our audience for taking the time out of your busy day to really talk about TikTok. And Oliver, hopefully you continue to seek tremendous growth and success with TikTok.
Absolutely. And I hope to see y'all's products on the platform.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks so much,
Thanks so much,
everyone.
y'all.
Have a great one. See
Take
ya.
care.